Hello to my fellow COP delegates. I'm really happy and honored to have just a few minutes to share with you some of the things that we are facing with climate change here in the great state of California. In our state, agriculture is very important, not only to our state, but to the nation. Because of our horticultural crops that are possible because of this great Mediterranean climate, we supply about 1/3 of the country's vegetables and 2/3 of its fruits and tree nuts. We're also the #1 dairy producer. So agriculture is a big deal in California. The sustainability of our food supply, though, is only as good as our water supplies. And we know that one of the most evident ways that we feel climate change in our fields, in our pastures, and in our orchards on a daily basis is through drought. So in these last few years here in California, we have not only suffered because of climate change, some of the most historic heat waves that we've ever had, not just here in California, but in the West. Historic wildfires like we've never had before, and our current drought, which is one of the worst on record. In fact, this past year, we have fallowed about 750,000 acres of farmland in California because there was no precipitation. Our snowpack in the mountains basically evaporated because of the dry conditions of our watersheds. We are definitely feeling climate change on a daily basis, and we must act now in order to preserve our environment, our economy, and our food supply. And we must act in a way that bears in mind the long-term consequences of what happens if we don't. One of the things that we recognize here in California is that investing in climate-smart agriculture will, in fact, produce multitude of environmental benefits for the public, but also ensure that food security is viable in California. And I know that this is a need and a goal that we share with many, many food-producing countries around the globe. We have invested our proceeds from our cap and trade auction for offsets into agriculture with on-farm water-saving technologies, with healthy soils to capture carbon, build up soil organic matter, and improve the water holding capacity of our soils. There are many, many programs that we've invested in, but they're all about using this very precious resource as precisely as we can. Now, not every country faces what we have with these very unpredictable water supply issues. We get a lot of precipitation in the wintertime in those good years, but very little precipitation the rest of the year. Those patterns are changing. So it's up to us to make the changes to be able to really capture that rainfall and that snowpack when we get it, and then be able to store it underground to recharge our groundwater aquifers. We are heavily dependent on irrigated agriculture, and the ability to continue to use irrigated agriculture with the most precise technology, the best available data to make our decisions, and more importantly, improve the overall management in a more aggressive way of our water supplies, where they are, where they change, understanding what's available now and what's possible. How do we do more recycling? How do we do more storage above and below ground? How do we do more ocean water desal, as well as treatment of brackish water for recycling? And most important, more conservation. There's one law in particular that really addresses the governance issues that I know this panel is interested in. That was the passage of a new law for us in 2014, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. One of the most important principles of that act was that as a state, a large state, with so many varieties in geography and water conditions, we knew that one size does not fit all. And so we allow for the flexibility of local government authorities to manage their local water resources in the best way that meets the needs of that community and manages demand to make sure that we're not using more water than we have available. It's been a hard and challenging process, but these types of changes in governance are not possible without partnerships. I have to say, environmental defense has been one of our best partners. They've helped us with open accounting platforms to be able to make sure we've got the data that we need in the way that's most useful to farmers to make their decisions, as well as for these local water agencies. We also have implemented a new program because we know that irrigating all the acres we historically have won't be possible going forward. There will be a need for some permanent land fallowing. We want to do it not in a haphazard way, but in a strategic, thoughtful way that really captures the total environmental benefit that could be captured if we really looked at strategic land fallowing and using the tools that are available to map it out and have it be strategically placed, reconnecting habitat corridors, reconnecting our refuges, making that land available for renewable energy. All of this requires adaptive management, and that is a leap of faith. But it's the only way forward for us because we don't know everything that we need to know about our water supplies. They are constant variables. One thing we do know, we have a hotter, drier future. We're living it now. The second thing we know is that we have to account for evapotranspiration. This is one thing that we've already been able to project that over the next 20 years, California will have 10% less available water because of evapotranspiration. We know that we have to invest in bringing data together and make it more friendly and useful for real-time decision-making at a precise level on the farms and a more macro level by our agencies. We know that we must improve our forecasting capabilities, and we have to be able to know where those atmospheric rivers are going to happen through those periodic storms and understand how best to capture that water, store it underground, bring it back up, and move it to those places of need when we're not getting precipitation. There are many challenges before us. None is greater than climate change. In the current drought that we're suffering, we know what our future is like. We know that we can't do it alone. It is a government responsibility in partnership with good nonprofit partners like the Environmental Defense and others, working with our landowners, our farmers, our ranchers, and making sure that our environmental partners at the table, that we're all working together to restore our environment, to improve our resiliency, and to make sure that we have the capabilities to meet our food security needs of the future. Thank you for this time. Looking forward to this conference, and I know that working together with global partners, investing in technical assistance, and understanding how we can share data and best modeling and forecasting projects, we will be able to face the future, adapt to it, and mitigate climate change. Thank you.